Yeah, I didn't connect with Miles until I was on stage with him. Actually, it's a funny story because I was playing at Ronnie's. I was playing in a support band with a singer and a rhythm section. Good singer, Elaine Delmar, her name is. She still sings in England, and some nice arrangement that Pat Smythe, the piano player, had done for the group. And we were playing opposite the Bill Evans trio, the pianist, with Eddie Gomez and Jack DeJohnette. And at that time, Philly Joe Jones had been living in London too. He'd moved to London for a period of time, and I'd got to know Philly Joe, and he was in the club that night. And I got to the club for the first set, and or around that time, and somebody said, "Oh, Miles is in the club," you know. And I have to be really honest. I thought, well, what's that? What am I going to do? I'm not going to go and bother him or anything. I'm just going to get on with the gig, And it was a very good gig, but a very traditional gig I was doing. And I just got on with doing it. And I, as usual, which I always try to do, I was trying to play for the music, for the setting I was in, And that was the best thing I could have done. If I had thought about Miles being in the club and, oh, yeah, I'm going to do my stuff and take the music to the ultimate and all that, he would never have spent a minute thinking about me at all. But the night went on, and after Bill's second set, we went on for our last set. And I was taking my bass on stage, and Philly Joe came up to me as I was climbing onto the stage, and he said, "Dave, come over here. I got something to tell you." I said, "What's up?" He said, "Miles wants you to join his band." I said, "Are you wait a minute, no. You're joking, right?" Because Philly Joe is a kind of a little bit of a prankster. You probably know that, right? He said, "No, he's serious." He said he wants to talk to you after the set. Well, of course, this hit me like a ton of bricks. I didn't think he was even listening to me. So I got up on stage and got through the set. Did the best I could to play the music. And after the set, I put the bass down and I went looking for Miles, and I couldn't find him. And Philly Joe was still there, so I said, "Philly, where's Miles?" He wanted to talk to me. He said, "Oh, he had to go back to the hotel, but he wants you to call him in the morning." So I had the name of the hotel and all that. And I get up, around 9, 10, and I think, well, better get a call. So I call the hotel. "Can I speak to Miles Davis?" I was nervous as hell. I'm going to actually talk to Miles. And they said, "Oh, just a moment. Oh, he's checked out. He's gone back to New York." So, okay. So, put the phone down. I'm like, what, is this real or what? What am I doing here? So I thought, I'm going to call Philly Joe again and see what he said. So I said, "What's going on? Is this serious or not?" He said, "Look, one thing about Miles is if he's asked you to join his band, he means it. He's not the kind of person that just says something like that." I said, "Well, what should I do?" He said, "Well, just sit tight. You'll hear something." Okay, so a week went by. All my friends, "What's going on, Dave?" Because of course, the whole of London knows about this now, all the music community. It went out like wildfire within 24 hours. My friends are calling, like, is it true? You got? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So I just kept doing what I was doing. I was doing the gigs I had, and 2 weeks went by, 3 weeks went by, and I was due to start a gig with Joe Henderson, and we did the first night, Tuesday night, and I got back home around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just getting into bed, and the phone rings. I pick up the phone. "Hello?" "Hey, Dave, this is Jack Whittemore. I'm Miles' agent. Miles wants you to come over. He's starting a gig on Friday at the Count Basie Club in Harlem. Can you make it?" I said, "Well, yeah." So I got a visa, and Ronnie Scott helped me get that. And I just walked away from everything I had in London. I didn't know how long I was going for. I didn't know if I would be back in a week or whatever. I get on the plane Thursday morning. Oh, those are the days. I walked on the plane with my bass. No ticket. They said, "Oh, yeah, you can put it right in the seat, sir, no problem." And Jack Whittemore said, because I'd become very good friends with Jack DeJohnette. Jack will meet you at the airport and take you into New York, and you can stay with him for a little while. So Jack was at the airport to meet me, and he said, when we were riding to New York, he said, so I was told to give you the message, you should go to Herbie's house tonight to just look at a couple of pieces of music and stuff, So that night I went to Herbie's house. I'm knocking on the door, Herbie opens the door and said, come on in. He didn't know who the heck I was. Miles had called him up and said, hey, this guy's coming over from England. Show him some of the songs, So, okay, So I knew most of the old repertoire, of course, but there were some of Wayne's songs which I didn't know very well. And the way Ron had interpreted them was sometimes difficult to hear what the real bass note was, because Ron would play other voicings, and he really was very creative with the music, so as you know. So I wasn't clear on certain of the chord changes and things like that. So Herbie helped me out with some of Wayne's tunes, Nefertiti and Pinocchio and some of those things. And I spent about an hour and a half there, and that was it. I went back to Jack's house, and the next thing was to go to the club on Friday night and be there. So I went up to Count Basses, and I was early, of course, and put my bass on the bandstand. The drums are already set up on the bandstand, and so I'm waiting at the back of the club, trying to be as inconspicuous as possible. And I see a couple of the guys arrive, but they don't know me or anything, so I'm just standing there like this, Miles arrives, I'm just standing there. Tony arrives, he walks right onto the bandstand, sits at the drums. So Herbie goes up, so I better get up on stage, I picked the bass. I haven't talked to anybody except Herbie. Miles goes up to the microphone, and he says, ba-ba-ba-ba-dup, ba-ba-ba-ba-dup, and the music took off like that. I felt like I was holding on to it like some wild horses or some stuff, And that's how the set started. It was a tune called Agitation, and we played it, and then it went into something else, and it went into something else. No set was called. Miles just started them. And I just tried to do the best I could, And I didn't feel like anybody was really listening to me. Many years later, I was working with Herbie on a tour with Pat Metheny and Jack DeJohnette in 1990. And then one night, Herbie and I are sitting in the hotel bar, and we're talking. I said, Herbie, I've always wanted to ask you about that first week. What was your impression of this young kid coming from England? I was 21. He said, well, he said at that point, Miles had been using different bass players in every city, because Ron had basically left the band, and he wanted to stay in New York more, and so Miles used different bass players. He said, so we just got used to playing through the bass player. We didn't even listen. And he said, because they just couldn't keep up, And he said, in fact, we had one bass player, I won't tell you his name, but he said we had one bass player who actually fainted on the bandstand. And he said, we felt pretty good that you didn't faint. That was a good sign, I said, well, yeah, but I said I didn't feel like anybody was really listening to me, and at the beginning. Well, going back to the experience, that first night I came back and I said to Jack, he said, how was it? I said, well, I don't feel anybody's listening. I don't feel like they're connecting with me or anything. He said, well, just hang in there. Just, I was actually starting to think maybe this wasn't right for me. Because I did actually go through some change about leaving England. I had a lot of very deep musical connections with people there. And so I went back second night. And there was a book I was reading that's was connected to the Sufi literature. And I read this one sentence, and it said, plant your banner firmly in the desert sand. And I looked at that, and I thought, wow, let me see, what does that mean now? Your banner is your symbol, your flag. It's your identity. And the sand is a place where it seems there's nothing, where nobody's going to see it, nobody's going to respond to it, but you plant it firmly anyway. And I said, that's what I got to do. I got to go back and plant that banner. So that night, I dug my heels in. I started to say, okay, this is what I'm doing. And the funny thing was, years later when I was talking to Herbie, he said, I noticed that about the third night, you started to say, okay, here it is,